Hello. Hi. I see there's a few people on. If you want to type in the comment section where you're from and what is your name, that would be great just to kind of know who's on and who's signed on. Um, Give me a little shout out. Tell me where you're from, what you are, here for, or anything about you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Let me write that down. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's see if we can see that. We see more people are joining in. I'm going to give a few people a chance to just catch up here real quick and, give people a chance of joining this live video. I see that people are joining in. Tell me in the comments who you are and kind of where you're from and what you're here for. That would be very, very awesome, very helpful, just to get to know you. Hi, I'm seeing some highs here. Hi, how are you? Can you guys see me? I hope you can. If you can just comment in the comment section if you're able to see me, if you're able to hear me just fine. Haven't really done too many lives before, so want to make sure that this is, exactly how it should be and if it's appearing okay to you guys. Hi, saying hi. Hi there, someone from New Jersey. Hi, Ramona. It's so nice to have you here. Where are you from, Ramona? Would love to know where we're having people joining us from. Hi, Brian. You're from the LDN group. So nice to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Love, love, love that we've got all these people joining us. This is awesome. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Hi, I see someone from New Jersey. Oh, Ramona's from Tennessee. Welcome, Ramona. I see someone else that is right in here from New Hampshire and Idaho. I'm in North Carolina myself. This is great. We're waiting for a few more minutes. Hope everyone had a chance to have dinner. Brian says he's from Austin, Texas. Oh, I love Austin. Austin is just beautiful. We were just there probably a couple months ago. It was just such a great time. Love Austin. Beautiful weather, just like North Carolina. Nice, nice people in Austin, that's for sure. We have a few more people joining in. If you want to just chime in, tell me where you're from. Maybe tell me why you're joining this live today. We've gotten so many questions already, so I'm hoping that I can get to all the questions, that the viewers sent. But if you will, please just introduce yourself. Oh, I see Christina, another Austinite too. That's great. I was just telling Brian what an awesome, awesome city Austin is, and we had so much fun. Um, and when we left Austin, our Uber driver ended up telling me this little tidbit secret that, I had seen signs all over and I wasn't sure why, but the Uber driver basically told us that the motto and the theme in Austin is keep Austin weird. And he kind of explained why, and I just thought that was so cool. And, I thought that was just a fabulous way to be unique to a city. Um, let's see. Hopefully, you guys can still see me. It's asked me to close all my applications, which I have done. And, I'm trying to make sure that there's nothing that interrupts my Wi-Fi. I am very new to Facebook Lives. This is not something I do. This is not something that I've ever done as a profession. So this is really my first time kind of doing this. So if there's any technical issues, I hope you will bear with me as I work through this. if there's any issues. Okay. So I think we can go ahead and get started and people will kind of trickle in. I'm seeing a few more people joining in. Happy for you guys to kind of tell me where you're from and kind of why you're joining this page and why you're here today. I really do hope that the people that asked all the questions, because we had quite a few, so I really do hope that the people that asked questions are able to join today. Um, I will start off by making a disclaimer. I am not a physician. And so this is really just for educational purposes and to really tell my story. Um, I am not a physician. This is by no means, for someone to take as a prescription or a treatment protocol. Please, please engage all these conversations with your medical provider. I am a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist for about 21 years now. Absolutely love my profession and love being a PT. And in about the last 10 to 15 years, I have focused a lot more on the functional medicine aspect of things. I've done a lot of alternative certifications for alternative medicine, some functional medicine stuff. All my CEUs were always in the functional medicine arena. It was just something that I absolutely loved. And it was a passion. And my poor husband and my kids have been exposed to this stuff for 15 years. We listen to every podcast in the car every morning, or my kids have to follow and live these principles and lives of from a functional medicine perspective. So really, this has been my core for over 15 years, and I love it. And I never thought life would take such a turn of events that it did. About 5 years ago, 5 to 6 years ago, I started getting sick. And probably the trigger and the predisposing factor was sorry about that. I just got some kind of technical message, but hopefully you guys are still here and see me just fine. Just give me a thumbs up if not, or if you are. But I never thought, I was a very, very healthy person. I exercised for 20 plus years, very clean eater for the most part. Of course, I enjoyed my wine, but, for the most part, a pretty clean eater, healthy eater, vegetarian my whole life. And about 5 to 6 years ago, we went through a very traumatic episode in our lives that kind of affected us and turned our lives upside down. And it all ended well. And the trauma and the whole episode lasted about 18 months of our lives. And so this kind of ended in 2018 when all of this ended. And within, I would say, 2 months of it ending, I didn't feel the same. I could barely exercise. I was having really increased frequency of urination. I was just having a lot of fatigue, a lot of irritability issues, and I just couldn't quite figure it out. I'm such a healthy person. I'm, for the most part, very outgoing and bubbly and love to be around people. And just didn't understand all this. So I went to see my doctor in October of that year, and she just brushed me off. My primary care physician brushed me off, and she said, Zankna, you are one of my healthiest patients. You are a clean eater. You exercise. You practice all the principles of functional medicine. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just tired. You're a tired mom. And I believed her in some factor, and I said, okay, I believe her. And at the time, I was on just some basic vitamins and vitamin D and omegas and B12. Yeah, I was on just 4 basic supplements, not on much at all. And she said, if I were you, I would stop all that. You don't know what kind of fillers are in there, and you really should stop all that. And so again, I believed her, saying, okay, this is what she's asking me to do, so I should probably do that. She asked me to come back to see her in 6 months as a follow-up. It was not even the 4-month mark when I had to go see her. I made an appointment. I had to go see her because I practically was crawling into her office at that point, completely exhausted, fatigued, brain fog, just couldn't focus, couldn't talk to my kids, just really having a tough time. And I'm practically crawling into her office, 3 to 4 months later, even though she told me 6 months. And I said, look, I am not myself. I am not me. This is not me. I'm not doing great. She brushed me off again and she said, look, my patients drink 5 Cokes a day. You haven't touched, soda or pop in years. Like, you're a very healthy person. And she said, there's nothing wrong with you. Just continue doing what you're doing. And probably stopping the 3 or 4 main supplements that I was on was probably a pretty bad idea too for me, because those supplements were helping me. They were really helping keep me afloat. They were very basic supplements. Long story short, I walked out of her office with no answers again. And again, she said I was perfectly fine, but I didn't know where to go at this point. So I started my whole cascade. She did refer me to a urogynecologist because she was like, oh, your frequency of urination's a lot. Why don't we send you to that? And so she did send me to that. Nothing came of it. They couldn't really find anything. So my dear husband, who has just been a champion and my supporter throughout this whole journey, he says to me, I don't understand what's going on with you and why she's saying that there's nothing wrong, but why don't you go see an endocrinologist? So that whole journey then led me from one endocrinologist to a second endocrinologist, one hepatologist to a second hepatologist. By this point, I'm pretty much bedridden. I am barely functioning. I cannot empty a dishwasher. I cannot carry one grocery store bag. I cannot carry groceries. 3 kids are at home. At that point, we started getting into this beginning of the pandemic. 3 kids are starting to, we're starting to get unsure about what's going on with the schooling, and they're home. And no one has answers for me. I saw 2 hepatologists, 2 endocrinologists, 2 GI specialists, another primary care physician, 2 OBGYNs, and no one is figuring out what is wrong with me. I even ended up seeing a rheumatologist, 2 rheumatologists, because I went to one institution and another. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They said, you're fine, you have fibromyalgia, you need to be put on antidepressants. And I think this is the classic story that we all hear with chronic disease. It is the classic story. Your blood work is fine, everything looks fine, there's nothing wrong with you. You have the cop-outs, which is fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, some autoimmune condition we cannot figure out, or get on antidepressants. And I told the rheumatologist that with all due respect, I do not need antidepressants. I know if I would need antidepressants, and I'm not against them, but I'm not someone who needs antidepressants. And I left her office with no answers, with no suggestions or anything to do. And ultimately, I was completely bedridden. There was a 5-month period that I was pretty much bedridden, with the exceptions of I had a gallbladder ultrasound, I had a liver ultrasound, I had a liver, a CT scan, I had a brain, CT scan, and nothing could be found in what was going on with me for all these months. But nobody had an answer why a very high level functioning, very healthy individual like myself was bedridden, completely bedridden. And nobody saw me, because at that point we were already in the thick of the pandemic, and I didn't have to go out, I didn't have to drive, I didn't have to go anywhere. So no one really saw me. My friends never saw me be this sick. So this is really putting myself out on a limb, putting all this information out there. But anyways, long story short, after 8 months of nobody being able to figure me out to this degree in every subspecialty you can think of, I even had a stress test, I even had an echocardiogram. No one can figure out why I'm so short of breath, why I could barely climb 3 sets of stairs without holding on and being completely out of breath. No one has answers. And the stress test is quote unquote normal. The EKG, quote unquote normal. Every test coming back normal. Every blood test is normal. And so I had a friend come over and she said to me, I think you might need to see an acupuncturist. And I said, okay. So I gathered up all the strength and the energy that I barely could and drove about 20 minutes away to go see an acupuncturist. And when I told the acupuncturist this entire story and everything that had happened, she said, you have adrenal fatigue and you're in a pretty late stage of adrenal fatigue. And I was just shocked. I didn't think that someone as healthy as me could go into adrenal fatigue to this degree. I was incapacitated. I literally went from, a few months ago of exercising and building a home and being this very healthy, avid exerciser, bubbly personality to cognitive decline, bedridden, body ache and just non-functioning. Um, and so I said, okay, let's start treating me. And so she started treating me and it helped a little bit, but I was still completely bedridden after a few weeks. And that's when I said, I'm going to go see a functional medicine doctor. This is what I have done for the last 15 years. And of course, as a physical therapist, I am allopathic medicine trained, but also have practiced the principles of functional medicine for all these years. So I'm going to go see a functional medicine doctor. And I did. And, the first 2 months is just getting to know you, your initial evaluation. And she ordered a plethora of blood work and stool tests and gut tests and all this stuff. And by the time you do all these tests and send all the results in and then the results come back, she had scheduled my follow-up in 2 months. And when she scheduled my follow-up in 2 months, sorry, I'm going to put my laptop on the charger. When she scheduled my follow-up in 2 months, she saw me for my appointment and she said, yeah, you are definitely in, stage 4 adrenal failure, but you have a lot of other things going on and your inflammatory markers are 3 times as much as they should be. No explanation why, but, a lot of my other tests and viruses and things were coming back, not too terrible. And she said, I think you have CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. And I said, what? Um, Never heard of it, had to go on a whole Google hunt and went down the rabbit hole for weeks after that. And then long story short, that provider herself, who was very sick, ended up going on medical leave herself. But she had started me on a few protocols. She said my hormones were completely shot. I had, at 40 years old, was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure, complete premature ovarian failure. So my hormones, my ovaries were producing zero hormones. My adrenals were not producing any hormones. And so she put me on very high dose of bioidentical hormones and she started the cascade, treating me for leaky gut and treating me for a vast, other set of issues and inflammatory conditions and things like that. But before she left for her medical leave, she said, I think you need to see a CIRS specialist, CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. And so I did. I went down that rabbit hole again and I started working with a pretty renowned CIRS specialist in the country. And he right off the bat, he had me do the test and the visual acuity test, and he had me do a bunch of blood work, and he said, oh yeah, you have CIRS. My numbers, my blood work was very low for it to be CIRS, but he said, oh, some people present symptomatically, and he started treating me for CIRS. And I went through the whole protocol for the Shoemaker protocol for 6 months. And by the end of it, I was really not much better. And at this point, I'm on high dose hormones. I'm taking about 15 to 20 supplements a day. And I'm already a year into my journey. Now, mind you, and I mentioned this before, as a physical therapist, I had access to some of the best modalities, the best treatments around town, and I had the knowledge. So I knew which modalities and which treatments and what to do for my leaky gut. With my functional medicine background, I had access to some of the best um, DOs and naturopathic doctors who are my dearest friends, and they're the most world-renowned naturopathic doctors. He's a dear, dear friend, and he took me under his wing, and he started treating me with supplements, and I must have been at that point on 30 plus supplements and was just not getting better. And no one could figure me out. And I fast forward a whole year into this illness. By this point, I had done every treatment out there, treatment modality for chronic illness. I had done PEMF. I had done multiple IVs and glutathione IVs and NAD IVs and vitamin C and Myers cocktails. I had done saunas and cold plunges and actual cryotherapy. I had done magnesium baths and detox baths and I was doing this consistently. My week consisted of about 5 treatments a day. I'm going to different centers. I'm doing the treatments at home. I am doing this consistently for a year. I am doing enemas and I am doing ozone therapy. I mean, I had tried everything and anything under the sun. And a year and change, I am no better. And the functional medicine doctors were a little perplexed too that, something should give, but they don't quite understand what. And my friend, who's a naturopathic doctor, he had really put me on some amazing supplements that started giving me a little bit of energy back. And at some point, then I had had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. I went to stay at my mom's place, my parents' home down in Florida, and I took the kids. I just couldn't manage anymore. My mom had already come up twice to help me with the kids. And so I went down to Florida and I left the kids with my mom and I checked into a hotel room in West Palm Beach. Now, mind you, again, this is not a treatment protocol and this is not something I recommend, but I have enough knowledge on this to decide that I was at a point where nothing else was working for me and I was going to do a water only fast. And a very, very, very brilliant DO who is a dear friend of mine, he's down in West Palm Beach, and he said he would monitor me, and he was keeping tabs on my blood pressure, and he had given me glucose monitors and ketone strips and all of this stuff. And I practically locked myself in a hotel room and did a water only fast for 6 days. I mean, it was sheer death. If you knew anything about me before that, I'm a person who eats every 2 hours. I love eating. I've never fasted even for one meal in my life, but I was so sick at that point that I decided there is no other solution. Fasting has been in my culture for thousands and thousands of years. I told my poor husband, who was so worried about me at that point, that this is not the next fad of a treatment that I'm doing. This is not the next fad of protocol that I'm doing. This has been in our culture for thousands and thousands of years. And in fact, my uncle just last year, who was 92, had done that 8-day water only fast because it's part of our religion as well. And so I checked myself into a hotel, and I did a 6-day water only fast. I started first with a juice fast for 1 day and then a 6-day water only fast. And that was probably one of the best things for me. It really helped me reset my body, heal my gut, and it really helped for me at that point to get a springboard to start healing. I was not there. It's not the answer. Now, keep in mind, my whole functional medicine background for the last year, I had been detoxing. You cannot just go into water only fast. I had been detoxing quite a bit to that point. There's phase 1 and phase 2 detoxifications. You really should look that up before you really consider doing a water only fast. But I had been detoxing for a whole year with supplements, with treatments, with everything. So my body was okay doing a water only fast. And again, I was very closely monitored by an osteopathic physician. And so that water only fast was probably the first time I felt about 30 to 40% better in my journey after a year and a half almost. And so I came back home. I was very weak. And of course, the refeeding is more important than the actual fast itself. And I'm very well versed in all of this. And with my naturopathic doctor friend and my doctor friend down in West Palm, they kind of guided me into the refeeding as well. And I felt about 30 to 40% better. That was probably the start of me healing. And once I healed, about 30 to 40%, I started walking, I started sleeping better. And that doctor down in West Palm Beach, he put me on these specific immune modulators. And which at the time I did not realize how helpful they were. And I was on those immune modulators for about 6 months. And they were really helping. I started walking again. I was walking a mile in the neighborhood, which I had not been able to walk from the kitchen to my driveway. I was not able to walk that little of a distance. So for me, this is a huge achievement after, doing the water only fast and after a year and a half of every treatment under the sun. And he put me on these immune modulators. And I did pretty well where I started walking. I finally started losing weight. I had put on 20 pounds, mainly because of inflammation, but just being so sick. I finally started losing weight. And that 6-month period, I was doing pretty well. And out of the blue, I had knee surgery. Came out of the blue, took me by surprise, and my orthopedic surgeon really just pushed me to have this surgery. And I ended up having knee surgery. Because I had knee surgery, I had stopped the immune modulators and had the knee surgery. The diagnosis was what I went in for was incorrect. She went in, she did not find what she had thought I had or the MRI had shown, and it put me down another cascade of complications. So from July of that year when I had my knee surgery to about October, I was pretty much bedridden again. I ended up developing a very rare complication called bone marrow edema. And bone marrow edema is a rare complication in certain patients who are heavy, obese, or smokers, which I am none. I am a tiny petite girl, and I was in pretty good shape going into the surgery, and I've never smoked in my life. So it didn't make sense at all until we figured out that my inflammatory process was still playing a big role in my healing from my surgery. And around October of that year, so by this point we've done almost 2 years of this ringer of me being so sick. October of that year, my functional medicine doctor, who is amazing, and I've been with her for over 2 years, says to me, I think, Z, it's time for you to get on LDN. And I was like, LDN? What is LDN? I've never heard of this in all of my work of all these years. And she herself, who she's in great shape now, but she's was suffering from Lyme's and had been on LDN for a year and had done very well. And so she put me on LDN, and I did all the research and was blown away at the success stories and at how well people had done on LDN and how it's just a great medication to help with any kind of inflammatory issues, especially in my case, that was the underlying cause. And so I get on LDN, and the first month is brutal. I have brutal migraines, very, very tough time sleeping, which until then I didn't have much sleep issues anymore. Had a tough time sleeping, a lot of migraines, and started gaining weight again. I was at 113 pounds, and within 2 months had put on quite a bit of weight again, and was very distraught because it had taken me so long to lose all that weight, the 6-day water only fast. And so I ended up being on that LDN, but having a lot of side effects. After 3 months of being on the LDN, my knee pain was completely gone. And I was exercising again. I started walking. I attempted a few Pilates classes. You have to keep this in mind. I hadn't done this stuff for years at this point. And getting on the LDN makes such a big difference for me. And it helped with my inflammatory issues. The only problem was that I was having all these side effects of the migraines and the lack of sleep and the inflammation and the weight gain and things like that. So after 3 months and in talking with my functional medicine doctor, her and I kind of decided that maybe LDN wasn't right for me. Maybe I was having too many side effects, and maybe it was time to stop the LDN. And the one good thing that had come with being on the LDN just for 3 months, that I had to half my hormone dose. I was on bioidentical hormones, and within 3 months, we had to half. And I think by the third month, I was even down to a quarter of my dose. I was on very high doses of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and the LDN had really helped to go down in all of those doses. And so we decided, her and I collectively, that maybe it was time to stop the LDN. Big mistake, because we stopped the LDN for 1 month and I crashed again. I completely crashed. I was bedridden again. I had a lot of joint pain and a lot of just aches and pains and brain fog, and, hormones are completely out of whack again and needed to be on the higher doses again. So that year, I, after 30 days of being off the LDN, decided I needed to be back on. And the doctor also felt that, yeah, it was probably a good idea that I should be on the LDN. And so I restarted the LDN. And this time, we changed quite a few things. I was originally on a capsule with a ginger filler, and then we decided, okay, I can't take it because of the headaches. Then I asked my doctor if she would prescribe the liquid version, and that helped a lot with my migraines. The other thing is that she suggested taking it during the day, so it would help me with my sleep. But the thing is, I was having a tough time focusing and functioning and running around with 3 kids and my work. And so that day, taking it the daytime only lasted a little, for a few weeks. But I got back on the LDN and I got back to my life. I started having less pain again. The knee pain subsided again. Brain fog started subsiding again. I started exercising. I started walking, that kind of stuff. So the moral of this story, and I really want to get to everyone's questions because I have quite a few questions that have come in, is, it's a very individual journey. Every person who has chronic illness is a very individual journey. And like I said, in these 4 years that I was really sick, I did every treatment option out there that I had access to, and I have access to a lot. I have done every single treatment that I had just mentioned earlier on. I see that a lot of people have joined later, but I mean, from PEMF to saunas to infrared to I do infrared daily, cold plunges, cryotherapy, magnesium baths and enemas, and I've done 9 liver flushes and cleaned my liver out. And I have done 3 now in those 4 years, 3 water only fasts, and I had done everything. But that period where my friend who's a DO in West Palm Beach, and the period that I was on LDN was the period that I did the best. And so I finally just concluded from all this that, you know what, it's my immune system. My immune system is in this hyper reactive state. And whether it's from the trauma and all that we went through, or it's just from being sick so long, that the immune system is just reacting. And that's why my inflammatory markers were 3 times and then 2 times. And then, we got my inflammatory markers down to normal, was because of this immune system being in a hyper responsive state. And so when people ask my story, how did you cure yourself? If someone tells you that there is a one answer fits all, then they're lying to you, because every individual has their own story, has their own path, has their own, diagnosis. Like I said, I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, complete adrenal failure. I was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. I was diagnosed with SIRS and MCA. I was diagnosed with mast cell. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. Like I said, they even tried to put me on antidepressants, which I refused to take because it just wasn't the problem. And then ultimately I figured out that, you know what, it's my immune system. And if I'm doing so well with the original immune modulators and then with LDN, it's suppressing my immune system from being so hyperreactive. And it's so ironic that the second time I started back up on LDN after that month of being off, my hormones went back to normal again, so of course I'm still on some sort of hormone replacement, but my dosing is getting lower and lower each month. And it's been very, very helpful. So I did all along the way. I have been meditating for over 15 years now. That's my life. I have been doing yoga for over 25 years. This illness is just a 4-year period of my life. I'm a very healthy eater, exercised all the time. And so meditation, yoga, stimulating the vagus nerve, to me, that was always just part of my vocabulary. I didn't have to be sick to be doing all of that stuff. But if I was doing all of that and it wasn't making a difference, then there was some underlying issue, which is where I think the LDN came in and really helped with that problem of fixing my inflammatory response and my immune system. So everyone's journey is very different, and I made a pact with myself that I have all this knowledge for 15 years, that when I got better, I would apply to the functional medicine program, which I did, which is the Institute of Functional Medicine, and I got accepted, and I'm more than halfway through. This has become my goal in life now, to help people. I had access to the world-class doctors, the world-class medical system, allopathic and alternative, and functional medicine, and I couldn't find answers. I couldn't get through this period of chronic illness. Then how is someone else who is just, an average person who is not in the medical field, who doesn't have this kind of access that I did, how are they going to get better? And I made it my mission and a pact that I was going to get certified as a functional medicine practitioner and help people. And so this is how I've started this journey. And I've started this page. I want to discuss my story. If you stay on this page, I want to discuss every single modality that I did. And there's about 30 different modalities, like I just mentioned, all of them. And I want to talk about each one of them. Not that one is better than the other one. Not that, it's going to make a difference here or there for you versus you. It's all individual. But I want people to have access to this knowledge, to have access to what helps, what doesn't help, what can you afford, what can you have access to, where will you get the biggest bang for your buck. Those are the type of things that I want to address. So I hope this has been very helpful of a story. I hope that, it gives people hope. I hope that people realize that there is practitioners out there who will help you. There is practitioners out there who can find answers for you. My functional medicine doctor was really helpful in prescribing LDN for me in the end, which gave me that hump to go over what I really needed to go. And I want to help. I want to help everyone on this page who joins, who is a part of it. Let me know how I can help. I have said time and time again, I am not a physician. I cannot prescribe. I will not give you a treatment protocol, but this is educational to help you. And so I really want to get to a couple of questions before I run out, because I've got so many questions that came in. I got this question many, many times already. How do you lose weight when you have a chronic illness? The one thing I say about losing weight, and trust me, I was there, because for 3-4 years, I had never been heavy as I had been, and I'm a very tiny, petite person. I didn't know what to do. I think that first you have to heal yourself, and there's a very specific, protocol that you can do to decrease the inflammation, to really clean up your diet. The number one thing that will help with weight loss is really cleaning up your diet. Just including a variety of phytochemicals and fruits and vegetables, and, really focusing on protein and fats. Don't be afraid of fats. Increase your protein intake, increase your fat intake. I am a physical therapist, and again, I had the background, so I set a program up for myself all along the way. In the beginning, when I was very, very sick and I could barely eat, could barely get out of bed, I was doing veggie broth. I am vegetarian. And so I don't do bone broths, but I did veggie broth. And if you're not a vegetarian, you can do bone broth. And so I wrote a whole program for myself in the very initial stages that included veggie broth or bone broth or whatever, celery juice. I did some protocols from the medical medium, and I incorporated some celery juice and things like that, some supplements and herbal things. So I wrote a program for myself for that. Then as I got a little better, I wrote a program for myself that I started incorporating a little bit more fat, but still a little higher carbs because, I had adrenal fatigue. So then the second step of the way, I had a program for myself that I just did on my own. And then as I got better, as I started walking more, as I started exercising more, then I put myself on a protocol for, high protein, lower carb, high fat, not bad fats, very healthy fats, avocados, nuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, that kind of stuff. And then I wrote a protocol for myself, as I healed along the way. So weight loss is usually the number one thing on our head, but I tell people this all the time: heal yourself first and go through the different arenas where you have more energy, you have less brain fog, you have all of those things, and then you will automatically have weight loss as a side effect. Another question that I got a lot of in some form or versus it was worded a certain way: how do I gain more energy when I can barely get out of bed? This is another example of what I will try to put on this page, again, for educational purposes, what I did in the beginning. Like I said, I couldn't carry one grocery store bag. I couldn't empty a dishwasher. So forget exercising or even walking. So I would just sit outside on my front porch for 10 minutes a day. That's all I could handle. That's all I could do. So I had that protocol in place, with my veggie broth and things like that. And I kind of had a program for myself, and I documented it all. I don't know why I did, but as my illness and my journey, I have documented every step of the way, what supplements I was on, what exercise protocols, which whether it was sitting in the sun for 15 minutes or grounding every morning where I walked on bare grass with my bare feet. So I want to talk about these protocols along the way and educate people what I did, in each phase. And then when I got better, then I walked to the end of my driveway and back. How did I get more energy? My naturopathic friend had me on these awesome supplements of vitamin C and zinc and CoQ10 and, just quercetin and things like that, and what each of them helped with. I knew what they were, but I didn't know how, they would all work with me. And then I put a protocol together based on his guidance. And so that really helped, things like that. So all of those things, having more energy, it's a step-by-step process. It doesn't come overnight. You have to address the underlying issues, especially if you're looking at this from a functional medicine perspective. You really need to address this from the root cause, which in functional medicine is the gut. You've got to heal your gut first. My gut was so inflamed from all that stress, all that stuff that I had gone through, that it was screaming out for just being inflamed, and it would react to everything. And so I stopped gluten, I stopped dairy, I stopped all that for 2 years, and I'm still 99% gluten free, and I'm still 99% vegan. But I have, once in a while, it was my son's birthday, I'll have a little tiny just taste of the cake, or had a little bit of cream in my dinner today, very little tablespoon of it, or things like that. So again, those things were all step by step. They come with time, they come with perseverance, they come with discipline, because I was determined. I was determined to get better. And I was determined to get better at all costs and then find a way to help people. I got a question: how do you begin to even exercise with chronic illness when exercising gets you bedridden for days? I was there. I did it. I exercised, or I even walked down my driveway, and I was bedridden for 5 days after that, completely bedridden. So I was inflamed, I couldn't do anything. And so, like I said, I wrote a protocol for myself where I started just by sitting in the sun. I remember till this day for months having my cup of veggie broth in my hand, standing on the bare grass for earthing, If you haven't heard of earthing, please look up Earthing the movie. It's a very healing concept. And then I would have my veggie broth, and I would just stand in the sun for 10 minutes. That was like running a marathon for me. And so that's where I started. Then I slowly walked down 2 steps of the porch. Then I walked to the end of the driveway. And so I did all those things in incremental increase as I could. Someone asked, why am I reacting to all the supplements? I did too. I had severe reactions to every single supplement. I couldn't take anything. And part of it was I was not detoxifying. I have the double MTHFR gene, and so I was not detoxifying at all. So what did that mean? That meant I had to open all my detox channels first. I started doing sauna. I started doing rebounder. We bought a trampoline for my daughter for her birthday, but selfishly I was going to use it too to help with lymph drainage and to help with just getting my lymph fluid moving and detoxing. I was doing saunas. I dry brush. I still do sauna, dry brush every single day. And I was doing detox baths with magnesium and Epsom salt and baking soda and hydrogen peroxide and all of that stuff. So it was a step-by-step process. It was learning for me along the way. I couldn't take any supplements for the first year. It would give me intense right-sided pain, stomach pain, all of that. So yes, I've been there, reacted to every single thing out there. And there was a point where I could only handle broth, veggie broth, and nothing else. How did you deal with the side effects of LDN? I said it a little bit in my when I was talking earlier on, but like I said, the first month was brutal. Then the second and third month got better, but then I was still having a lot of side effects that I was having a very tough time dealing with. And so the second go around, we made changes. I had already started with the ginger filler to begin with the first time because I was very, very sensitive to any kinds of supplements. And so the second time around, we went to liquid LDN. And this is just all, I looked it up. I told my functional medicine doctor, this is what I think I will do better. There's a fantastic group, the LDN Research Trust Group, that I got all this information from. And, I slowly started learning about LDN. And so I dealt with the side effects that way. I realized that, what I ate at night, and if I had even a little bit of yogurt at night, it would get me congested and it would give me really terrible headaches. And so I stopped having, homemade organic yogurt with my dinner. And I've tolerated the LDN a lot better. So a lot of it is just trial and error, how I, dealt with some of those things. You'd have to be your own advocate. You'd have to talk to your healthcare practitioner. I will be happy on this website to just put videos and things that I went through and suggestions that helped along the way. But again, you'll have to be your own advocate and speak to your practitioner. What different types of detox do you do every day? I kind of mentioned that. Saunas every week, cold plunges or cryotherapy every week, dry brushing, infrared almost every other day. I do rebounder once in a while, or not rebounder, but a trampoline. I've done, I think I said 9 liver flushes. I've done about 8 or 9 liver flushes in my whole journey. I mean, I've water only fasted 3 times now. That's a very, very major form of detox. So again, variety of things. I've done it all, but it really depends what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Let's see. Someone asked here, what is LDN? Low dose naltrexone is what it is. And what immune modulators did I use? Initially, my doctor that put me on the immune modulators, he put me on Digesticure. It's a aloe-based ace-mannan, completely natural immune modulator. Someone asked, what dose did you start with? Yes, so I started with 1.5, and then I was only able to go up to 3. And that's when I had to stop. So then when I educated myself from the LDN Facebook group, and then when I restarted, and that's another reason why I did the liquid LDN, was because I could titrate. And so at that time, I started with zero point 0.5, and I was able to quickly work my way back up to 3.0 milligrams. So from zero point 0.5 all the way to 3.0 milligrams. But the liquid, was a lot better in that I could titrate. And then there's a question, is it okay to fast when your adrenals are very low? No, it's not okay. My third time that I did it, it actually kicked my butt quite a bit, and it was too much for me. My first time, like I said, I had been detoxing for a year. I had really been on all these supplements. My adrenals were healing in that year, so I was able to tolerate that 6-day water only fast. But no, if you are really in the third or fourth stages of adrenal fatigue, you should not be water only fasting. You really need to work with a practitioner on this. You don't want to go into ketoacidosis or anything like that. And, I had that much knowledge where I was doing electrolytes and things like that, after the fact. So really, really, water only fasting has to be done guided by a physician. Um, Somebody asked, any ideas what could help my daughter to overcome fear at night? We watched a car crash into a neighbor's house on Christmas morning and she cannot forget about it and is fearful that will happen again. This person posted this question on my event, like this group, and I will tell you that, again, right off the bat, I'm going to say you have to talk to your child's pediatrician to get proper, accurate information that is medically correct for your child. Having said that, I will tell you two things. I told you I practice all the principles of functional medicine with my kids. And so there's so many apps and websites and things that my kids and I do every night where we meditate. And I meditate with them. The one thing I will say for your child, she's 9 years old and she witnessed, a car crashing into a neighbor's house. In my journey of this whole illness, I did Annie Hopper's oh gosh, I'm gonna blank out on this, DNRS. It's called DNRS, Dynamic Neural Retraining System. And I did that whole program and protocol for quite a while. And with DNRS, one of their main principles is to focus on good memories, happy memories. So if I were this parent, and I would lay with my child every night and visually talk them through this, being outside, having a picnic out there, birds chirping and balloons flying, and make it very kid friendly, and paint some very happy memories out there by that, outside your front door or by that house or anything like that, and start rewiring their brain to have happy memories, because this is one of the things I had to go through when I did DNRS, was that I had to rewire my brain. I had been sick for so long. We had gone through that traumatic period for 18 months, and I had to rewire my brain. I had to teach my brain how to rewire for happy memories. And it really makes a difference. It really helps your limbic system reset and know that you're safe, that your limbic system doesn't have to react all the time. Mine was at a very much deeper level, but again, if this was my 9-year-old child, then this is, we already meditate with our kids and we already do so much of this already and at night. And so that's always been helpful. I have 2 teenage boys now, and my daughter's in middle school, and you can only imagine all the stresses they go through. And so for us, we do breath work every morning, we do meditation every night. This is stuff that we've done for years. And it really seems to help with their focus and concentration and stress levels and things like that. Somebody asked, low dose what? It's LDN. L like Larry, D like David, N like Nancy. Low dose naltrexone. And oh, it looks like awesome. Thank you, Brian. You just put a link on the group for everyone to see. So that's awesome. You can just, click on that and then you'll be able to get a lot of information. There is a question here. What biohacking things do you do? Yes, I did. In some of my write-ups and things, I did put about biohacking. I've been a biohacker way before I even did any of my treatments and I was sick or anything like that. But I definitely do a lot of biohacking on a day-to-day basis, from amino acids in general, which are things you need. Of course, I've tried all kinds of peptides, and I do cold plunges all the time, which is a form of biohacking. Saunas are a form of biohacking. I mean, I do practice a lot of that stuff on a day-to-day basis for longevity, because even before I got sick, I used to always tell people it's not about being skinny. It's not about, wanting to lose weight or look good. Yeah, is that an added bonus? Of course, but my goal in life always has been longevity. That's why when I named this group, I wanted to name it Healing Chronic Illness and Longevity, because what is the best way to lead a long, healthy, pain-free life? Is, to me, that is the answer to everything. And so, yes, I do a lot of biohacking on a day-to-day basis for, longevity. And then, of course, once I got sick, to really help myself heal. So we're getting into almost the hour mark here, or pretty close. If there's any questions, I'd love to take some last minute questions before I sign out here. You guys have been amazing for joining me today. I am so happy. And I can't tell you guys how nervous I am doing this. This is my first time doing this. I just want to start putting my story out there. I want to be able to help people and help as many people as I can. I do have the skill set, and I do have, the access to all these things, that at least if I can, in an educational manner, educate people that are going through this every day. It is debilitating. Chronic illness is tough thing to live with. It changes your life. It changes your family's life. It changes everything. I was very, very lucky to have a very supportive husband. And my kids too, to some degree, were very supportive and understanding of how ill I was. And it's very hard for your loved ones to see someone who they've seen go 100 miles a minute to getting so sick and being unable to do anything. So, it's a support system is very, very important. And being sick is a really tough thing to do. And so I will just say this in closing, that, there is hope out there. It took me so long and so much trial and error and so much um, just trials and tribulations and heartache and pain and not getting better. But the one thing I didn't do is I didn't give up. I kept looking for answers, even if it meant going into a dead end, or, I kept looking for answers, and I wanted to get better at any cost. I was ready and willing to do it at any cost. And so I hope that, those of you watching this, and that are suffering from a chronic illness or a disease, I hope that you will see that keep your spirits up. I posted something the other day on my page about immune system, and how that is so critical, and your mind and your thought process, how it is so important in this deal, in getting you better. And if you've seen the work of Joe Dispenza, I love his work, and he healed himself. Tony Robbins talks about it a lot too, but Joe Dispenza talks about how it's state of mind, and he completely healed himself from being bedridden to, doing what he does today. So really, your state of mind is the most important. Don't give up, guys. There's hope out there. You will find a solution for whatever your illness is, and I hope that, if these Q&As help, then we will continue doing them. I will put all my treatments and modalities and things out there, everything that I've tried, and how it worked for me, and if it didn't work, and all of that stuff. And then I hope, the internet is a wonderful place, and I hope you can work with your practitioner to find solutions to what you're looking for. Thank you so much, guys. I think this is our time here, and so we will hopefully be in touch at some other point when you guys decide if you want to do another Q&A. We can definitely do one. But thank you all for joining. This was very, very, I'm humbled. I'm appreciated that you decided to join this live today. Have a good evening.